Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBayCrochet.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make the banded cable throw. But before we get into some of the details, I'd like to make one request. If you could just go ahead and hit that little subscribe button, that way you won't miss any of the new offerings I have coming your way. Okay, so what are you going to need for this project? Well, first of all, let me tell you that the dimensions of this project are approximately 49 inches wide by 60 inches long. Okay, let me show you what you're going to need. The pattern for the banded cable throw is found in Crochet Home. This is a magazine that's available maybe on your newsstand in your area, or if not, you can always order this from Annies.com. You can order the physical copy or the PDF download. For this project, you're going to need 3 skeins of the Bernat blanket yarn, and that is in Taupe. And here are the stats on this yarn. This is 220 yards per skein, or 201 meters. This is 10.5 ounces or 300 grams, 100% polyester. You are also going to need 4 skeins of the same yarn, but this in vintage white. Okay, you're also going to need a crochet hook. I'm recommending size N, which is a 10.00 millimeters, a rather larger hook. And as always, I'm going to recommend that you have a yarn needle for hiding those loose ends. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So to begin, we're going to start with our slip knot, which I make like this. Go ahead and make sure that this is pulled rather tightly here. Make sure that you leave a decent size end here so that you can weave that in once we're all finished. The first thing we're going to do is crochet 104 chains. Make sure you crochet these on the looser side, but not too loose. So I usually crochet these in increments of 5 so I don't lose track in case somebody walks into the room to ask me a question. So that is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So go ahead and do this until you have 104 chains. After crocheting those 104 chains, we're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So we find the 4th chain, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I just work those double crochets on one side of that chain. I don't work in the back bump, but if that is your preference, you may choose to do that as well. I really don't think it's going to make that much difference, but feel free to do what you are comfortable with. So now I am just simply going to work a double crochet in each chain all the way across. After working all the way across, you should have 101 double crochets plus the turning chain. Okay, now we're going to turn. We're going to chain 2, 1, 2. And now we're going to begin working the ribbing. And what I'm going to show you on row 2, you're going to need to repeat for rows 3 through 5. So basically what I'm going to show you now, do for the next 4 rows. Okay, we're always going to skip the first stitch along the edge. And we're going to work a front post in the 2nd stitch. And the way this is worked, we're going to wrap our hook like we're going to work a double crochet. We stick the hook in and bring it all the way around kind of the body of the stitch rather than working through the top. Hook a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's called a front post double crochet for some of you who haven't seen that before. Now we're going to work a back post double crochet. We wrap the hook for the double crochet. We come in the back door. The hook goes around the body and back out the back side door, so to speak. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 more. It's like giving the stitch a belt rather than working through the top loops. Okay, so we're going to alternate that back and forth all the way across. Front post, double crochet, and then back post, double crochet. Pull some more yarn, and then we do that again. Front post, double crochet, and then a back post, double crochet. So go ahead and work this all the way across the row. So after working the front post and back post, alternating all the way across, you should have ended on a back post double crochet. And now for the chain, turning chain here, we're just going to put the hook completely in that hole, and we're going to work a half double crochet. Okay, now we're going to turn. And now, like I said before, we're going to do rows 3 through 5 the same way. We chain 2, and it should be actually easier starting with row 3 because the front posts are going to be in the front, the back posts are going to be in the back. So for rows 3 through 5, we're just going to work front post, double crochet, and then back post, double crochet, and alternate that all the way across the row. Front post, double crochet, and then back post, double crochet. And stop and let me show you how this should be coming out. So the ribbings should be nice and straight, just like that. So go ahead and finish rows 3 through 5 at the end of each row, and I'm now finishing up row number 5. We just end with a half double crochet worked in that turning chain space. Okay, so this is what you should have at the end of 5 rows. Now we're going to turn, and we're actually going to begin our pattern stitch. To begin round number 6, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to begin in the next stitch. We're going to go ahead and skip the first stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to work what we call a wattle stitch, and I'll show you how easy this is. It's a combination of 3 stitches you should already know. It's a single crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet worked in the same place where you worked that single crochet. Just like that. And you should have a little hole in here caused by that chain stitch. After completing that wattle stitch, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to work another wattle stitch in the next space. Again, a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Okay, so we have 1, 2 wattle stitches. We're going to do 2 more until we have 4 completed. And in between the cables that we're going to be working, we're going to have a spacing of 4 wattle stitches. Okay, so for the next one, we skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then work a wattle stitch in that next stitch. Single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip 2. In the next stitch, we work a single crochet. Let's go ahead and pull it all the way through. Chain 1 and a double crochet. So let's check to see how many we have. Okay, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. Now we're ready to begin the large cable. Okay, so we're not going to be crossing the cable now. We're just actually working the foundation stitch for the large cable. But before we do that, we need to skip these 2 stitches following that wattle stitch. And starting in this stitch, we're going to work 3 front post double crochets. That's 1, 2, and 3. Each of these large cables are going to have 3 stitches on each side. Now in the middle, there's going to be a half double crochet. So in the next stitch, we work a half double crochet. And then we work 3 more front post double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Let's pause and take a look at that. So this is the foundation of the first large cable. So we have 3 front post double crochets, a half double crochet worked through the top loops, and then 3 front post double crochet. Now we're going to work 4 more wattle stitches. So for doing that, we're going to start in the very next stitch. We work a single crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. Remember, I said to do that 4 times. Skip 2 stitches, and then do that again. Single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Let's bring more of this fabric in here. So now we have 2. So now we need to do 1, 2, skip those 2 stitches, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. I promise this is one of the more important and difficult rows in that you are establishing what we're going to be doing throughout the rest of the throw. Okay, skip 2 stitches now, and then single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Let's check how many do we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember to skip 2, 1, 2 after that stitch. And now for the next stitch, we're actually going to be working a 4-post cable or 4-stitch cable. Okay, so I'm going to wrap my hook 2 times. Okay, I'm going to skip these 2 stitches because of the wattle stitch, because that's going to fall right down there. But I'm also going to skip 2 more stitches. So we're going to skip 2 4 stitches, and then we're going to work a front post treble crochet. Do that 2 times in the next stitch, or actually 1 more stitch, so that we have a total of 2 treble crochets worked just like that. And these stitches we are going to cross. Every time the front side of the afghan is facing, we're going to be crossing these 4-stitch or 4-post double crochet cables, or treble crochet rather. Okay, so we wrap our hook for a treble crochet, and those 2 stitches, the last 2 stitches that we skipped, we're going to come back to this one and do another front post treble crochet, and then the next stitch. In case that's a little confusing, make sure that there are those 2 skipped stitches here following the wattle stitch, and then this is the 4-post cable. After the 4-post cable, we go ahead and start in the next stitch with those 4 wattle stitches again. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. I'm going to do this 4 times. Skip the next 2 stitches. Single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. So I'm going to do this 2 more times. After working those 4 wattle stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's time for us to skip these 2 stitches again from that wattle stitch here, and then we're going to do the large cable row 1, which is working a front post double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then working through the top loops, a half double crochet in the next stitch, and then 3 more front post double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. So you can see that. After we do that, it's time to do those 4 wattle stitches again. Work in the top loop, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip the next 2 stitches, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Pull up some more yarn here, and let's see, we have 2 of those, so we need 2 more. Skip 2 stitches, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, skip 2, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. That should be 4 stitches. Let's just stop to verify. 1, 2, 3, 4. It never hurts to stop and do a little bit of a count, because you don't want to be wrong on these foundation rows. Okay, so we just completed the large cable here, so it's time to do another of the 4-post cable. So we're going to skip these 2 stitches again for that wattle stitch, and then 2 more, so we can do the 4-post cable. We wrap our hook for that treble crochet, do a front post treble in each of the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Now working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 that are closest that we've also skipped. 1, 2. Okay, so that's another 4-post cable. And again, we're going to work the 4 of the wattle stitches, starting in the very next stitch, working through the top loops, single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. And so I'm going to do that 4 times and skip the next 2 stitches. Now I'm going to go ahead and just also mention something to you as I work on these, that as you notice, this yarn is a lot thicker. There's going to be a lot more friction as you pull this yarn through, and having to make the larger stitches with the larger hook, quite frankly, can be a little more stressful on the muscles in your hands. So if you tend to spend many hours doing a single crochet project, and this one would be tempting to just sit down and just want to knock out a lot of rows in one sitting, I just want you to, I want to encourage you to take a lot of breaks in that process, because your hands are going to be under a lot more stress from this kind of a project. So do make sure that you take breaks, and maybe, if you have to crochet continuously, pick up a different project for a while, one where the yarn is smoother and is not as stressful on your hands. Okay, I just want you to, just be thinking of your, health, the hand health, as we work on this project, because this is one that will, I think, tax it to its limits, or at least it does for me. So I have to take frequent breaks from this kind of a project. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 wattle stitches. Now the last cable that we're going to work here is the large cable. So we're going to skip these 2 stitches, again following that wattle stitch, and then we're going to work 3 front post double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to put a half double crochet in the top loops of that next stitch, and then we're going to work 3 more front post double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and the only thing we have left to do now would be 4 wattle stitches. Hopefully we'll have enough space. Let's see if we do. So we have a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, skip 2 stitches, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, skip 2, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, skip 2, and single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Okay, we're going to skip the last stitch, and then we're going to work a half double crochet right in that chain 2 space, just like so. And this is how our row ends. Okay, so now we're going to turn, and we're going to begin row number 2 with a chain 2. All the rows are going to begin with a chain 2, and then now we are going to skip the half double and the double crochet here, and we're just going to work in that chain 1 space that's left by the wattle stitches. Okay, and we're going to work a wattle stitch in there, which is again single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. I really like this stitch. In case you've ever followed some of my other patterns, I really just like the fabric that it creates, and it really helps for the cables to kind of stand out. Now we're going to skip the single crochet, the double crochet, and we're going to go for that chain 1 space right here and work the next wattle stitch in there. So when you work over these wattle stitches, you're only working in the chain 1 space. So we go to that next chain 1 space and work another waddle stitch. Go for the next chain one space. And so that should be our fourth. Let's just double check here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can feel the hole that you're going to be working in the next row as you count those. Okay. Now we have come to the large cable, which are those front post doubles from the other side, and we're simply going to work a back post double crochet over each of those. 1, 2, 3, and then a half double crochet in the half double crochet. And the next 3 are going to be back post double crochets. And by the way, this is the back side facing as we work row number 7. The even rows, you're going to have the front side. The odd rows, you're going to have the back side facing. Okay, so we've worked 3 back post double crochets. Let me show you for the front side what we're doing. We're growing these columns here, and there's a half double crochet space in the middle, and we'll be crossing that very soon. Now when you get to the waddle stitches, you just work a waddle stitch in that chain one space. And there are 4 of those. And 3. And 1 more. Now after those 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 waddle stitches, we're going to be working back post double crochets over the next 4 stitches, which was that 4-post cable. And make sure you do that in order as they come. 1, 2, and this one's back in here, 3, and 4. And so this is pretty much what you're going to be doing all the way across. And when you come to the large cable, you do 3 back post double crochets, a half double, and then 3 back post double crochets. The waddle stitches worked in the chain one of the waddle stitches, and when you come to the 4-post cable, just 4 back post double crochets. And then after that, I know it feels like a long distance, but it really isn't. Go ahead and start your 4 waddle stitches again. So if you go ahead and work that all the way across the row, I will show you the ending stitch. Now continuing across the row, we're going to work those waddle stitches worked in the chain one space. So it'll be single crochet, chain one, and a double crochet. So we're going to go ahead and work 4 of those. That's 2. As you can see, this bulky weight yarn is nice and soft, but it's also a little more awkward than your usual yarn of the worsted weight varieties. Okay, so that should be 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that brings us again to the back side of the large cable. So we're going to work 3 back post double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, half double crochet in that half double crochet stitch right through the top loops, and then 3 more back post double crochets. Okay, now we're back to the 4 waddle stitches. I'm going to go ahead and work those 4 waddle stitches. You should know how to do that by now. and then I will skip to the next part. So go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches. After those 4 wattle stitches, we come to the back side of that 4-post cable again, and so go ahead and work 4 back post double crochets, one after the other, just straight across. Whoops, let's try that one again. That loop slipped out, and this is probably the trickier one. Make sure you work your hook around to grab that 3rd stitch there, which is part of the crossing of the cable. Okay, so you have 4 back post double crochets over that section and 4 more wattle stitches again. I promise you'll be able to do this stitch in your sleep. Actually, it's actually not a bad thing. By having so many of these, you'll actually be building muscle memory and will be able to do this without even thinking very shortly. So that's the 3rd. 1, 2, 3, and then we do 1 more, and then we're coming upon our last cable of the row here, and for that we have the large cable, at least the foundation stitches for that. And so go ahead and work 3 back post double crochets again. I know this is a bit redundant. I just wanted to be careful to take you across the entire row and not just leave you hanging to figure it out, because I know the foundation parts are difficult, but once we get a good bit of this done in the next several rows, then it'll be an easy repeat, and you can just come right back to this section in the video should you need more video support. Okay, so we just worked 3 back post double crochets, a half double in that half double of the top loops of that stitch, and then 3 more back post double crochet, and that is going to leave us with 4 wattle stitch and a half double crochet. So I'll just go ahead and work those with you right now. So that would be 1. Again, we're just working these in that chain 1 space, a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. That's 2, and that's 3, and 1 more to go, and that makes 4. And in this chain 2 space, just work a half double crochet, just like that. And let's go ahead and turn and see what we have after the completion of the 7th row. Okay, so you still see the foundations for those large cables, lots of wattle stitches, and this is the 4-post cable, and it should be alternating, a large cable and a small cable, and then the large cable on the other side. Row 8 begins the same way as the last 2 rows with a chain 2, and we are going to work those 4 wattle stitches. So go ahead, starting in the first chain 1 space there, go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches. After completing those first wattle stitches, we come to our large cable foundation, and this is where it gets a little interesting. We're going to actually cross the cables on this. It's not complicated, but it is important that you follow the directions. So let me go ahead and make sure there's no distractions there in the background. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to skip the first 3 of the front post cables, and we're going to work a half double crochet in that half double crochet. Okay. Now there's going to be a big hole here, and it's going to feel like you've just jumped a chasm here for putting that stitch. But don't worry about that. I promise you in just a second it's going to clear up. Now we're going to work front post trebles in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Now working in front of the last 4 stitches, that would be the half double crochet and the 3 front post trebles, we're going to work 3 front post trebles, 1 in each of these 3 stitches that were skipped. So come all the way over here, start with the one that's furthest away. That's 1. Having a hard time wrapping for some reason. That's 2. And the third, we don't work over that half double crochet since we've already worked in the top of it. Okay, so let's take a look. And so this is what it should look like right now. I promise with the rows that follow, this is going to look a lot better as we add, stitches to these stitches that we just crocheted. Now we just do the 4 wattle stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and work these 4 wattle stitches, and just like we did 2 rows below, as we finish, after we finish those wattle stitches, we're going to work on our 4 post cable, which means skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2. And I know I'm repeating myself, but whenever the front side of your project is facing, you're always going to be crossing the cables on the 4 post cables. That's just the way this stitch works. The large cable is different, and it's going to vary depending on the color of yarn you're using, because for the darker color we're going to have much more elongated cables for the large cables and shorter ones for the lighter colors. But whenever you do these 4 post cables, make sure that you are careful to cross them. Now we have 4 more wattle stitches, so I'm going to go ahead and work those. After those 4 wattle stitches, we come to another large cable, and I'm going to do this with you one more time, and then I'm going to let you finish out the row. Okay, we're going to skip these 3 stitches, and we're going to work a half double crochet in the center right on top of that other half double crochet from the previous row, and then 3 front post treble crochets. It's 2 and 3, working in front of the last 4 stitches. That's these 3 trebles and that half double. We're going to go all the way back to the first stitch that we skipped here, and we're going to work a front post treble in each of those stitches. So it's a little trickier. Wow, I'm not sure why I'm having trouble getting that through, but finally got it. Okay, so we just crossed that cable, and you'll see there's a section here in between that we'll be working in as we come the next row over. But so now the rest of the this row, we're just going to work the 4 wattle stitches, and then again we will cross the 4 post cable by skipping these 2 front post treble in these 2, and then working front post treble in each of these 2, and then you'll have 4 more wattle stitches, another large cable to cross, and if you're not sure how to do that, just back this tape up a little bit, and then 4 more wattle stitches, and then a half double crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish that row out, and then we'll begin the next row. Now we're ready to begin row 9, and this has some unique things about it when it comes to the large cable. But before we do that, we need to go ahead and start with the 4 wattle stitches. So go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches, worked only in those chain 1 spaces. Now we come to the large cable that we crossed on the last row. So we're going to work 3 back post double crochets. Remember, now we only use the trebles when we cross the cables. We're going to use back post double crochets on the next 3 stitches. Now in between the last stitch and the next stitch, this is kind of, there's a space here. This is where the cables were crossed. We're going to put a half double crochet right in that space. It's not specifically in the stitch, but it's just in the space between where those two stitches, you know, where the groups of those 3 stitches were crossed. Now we come back, again, carefully make sure we don't eliminate or forget any of these stitches. We're going to do back post double crochets the next 3 stitches. That's the other half of this crossed cable. Now we're going to skip this half double crochet, and we're going to work just in those wattle stitches. So working the wattle stitches in that chain 1 space, which again, chain single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and work those 4 stitches. After those 4 wattle stitches, it brings us to the back side facing of that 4 post cable. So we just work 4 back post double crochets straight across, and again, that 3rd one might be a little tricky to find, but just go ahead and get that. Again, being careful to use the nerve endings in your thumb and toe man fingers. That really helps a lot in the crocheting process, especially with the cables. Okay, now we have those 4 wattle stitches again, so go ahead and do those 4 wattle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces. After those 4 wattle stitches, that brings us to another large cable crossing, and I'll show this to you one more time. We're going to work back post double crochet in the next 3 stitches. That's 1, 2, and 3. Let's get some more yarn here. After we do those 3 stitches, we're going to work a half double crochet in between the last stitch and the next stitch, and this should be the center of your cable where those last stitches of the last row were crossed. Work your half double crochet right like that, and then 3 more back post double crochets. This is the second half of that cable. Just like that. And now it brings us back to the wattle stitches. There's 4 of those, as you know, and I'll just show you the rest. After we do those 4 wattle stitches, then we do 4 back post double crochets over that 4 post cable, 4 more wattle stitches, and then once again 3 back post double crochet, a half double in the center, and then 3 more back post double crochets, and then 4 more wattle stitches, and don't forget a half double crochet in the chain 2 turning chain. So go ahead and finish out row number 9. Row 10 begins in the same way with a chain 2, and then we're going to work those 4 wattle stitches. So go ahead and work those. After completing those 4 wattle stitches, we come to the large cable, and this is very much what we did on row number 6. We're just going to work 3 front post double crochets, and then we work a half double crochet in the top of that half double crochet right in the center of the cable, and then 3 more front post double crochets. Okay, let's go ahead and pause, and you can see how this large cable is forming. Now we're going to work 4 more of those wattle stitches, so go ahead and do that 4 times. After those 4 wattle stitches, we come to the 4 post cable, so we skip these 2 front post treble crochet in the next 2. And working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in those 2 post stitches that we skipped. Remember, front post treble when crossing the cables, either front post or back post double crochets all the other times generally. Okay, and that brings us to 4 more of those wattle stitches, and after that then we do a repeat of the large post cable, which again, 3 front post double crochets, half double crochet in the top of the half double crochet, and 3 more front post double crochets. And that's pretty much the repeat all the way across the row. So go ahead and complete row number 10. Now for rows 11 through 14, it's going to be a repeat of rows 7 through 10. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like on your throw. Okay, so this is row 6, which was the first row. Okay, row 7 is right here. This is actually the back side facing. So 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to repeat rows 7 through 10 again. And again, this will be effectively rows 11 through 14. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through and just start you off on what you're going to need to do over both the large and the small cable for each of these, just so that it's not confusing. And so when I send you back to these rows for the repeat for the remainder of the throw, it'll be easy for those who need the video support. So this is effectively row number 11. Go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces as we've been doing. Go ahead and do those. When you get to the back side of that large cable, we are just going to do just like we did for row 7. We're going to do 3 back post double crochets, and then after that we're going to work that half double crochet right in the center, right through the top loops of that stitch, and then 3 more back post double crochets. Whoops, let me try that one again. Say they do get away from me too, in case you have these issues. That's 1, 2, 3. And then after that, go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches in each of those chain 1 spaces. After those 4 wattle stitches, then we're going to work 4 back post double crochets over that 4 post cable. And 1 more. Okay, so that would be the 4 back post double crochets, and that is your repeat all the way across. Again, the 4 wattle stitches, and then when you come to the large cable, 3 back post double crochets, half double crochet, 3 back post double crochets, and then the wattle stitches all the way across to the end, or of course the 4 post cable, working 4 back post double crochets, and another large cable, 3 back post double crochets, half double, 3 back post double crochets, the 4 wattle stitches, and of course make sure you do your half double crochet in this chain 2 turning chain. So go ahead and finish row number 11. Now we're ready to start row 12, and we're going to chain 2. This is the row, now let's look ahead, where we're going to actually cross the cable again. So go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches in each of those 4 chain 1 spaces in the previous wattle stitches. After completing those 4 wattle stitches, we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, and we're going to work a half double crochet worked in the top loops of that half double crochet. After that, we're going to work 3 front post treble crochets, that's 2 and 3. Now, working in front of the last 4 stitches, we're going to go ahead and front post treble crochet in these 3 stitches that were skipped. That one's always a little tougher to pull the threads through for some reason. 2 and 3. Let's go ahead and take a look at that so we can look at how these are crossed. After that cable is crossed, we have 4 more of the wattle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces. So go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches. After working those 4 wattle stitches, we're going to come to our 4-post cable, and you know what to do. We have the front side facing, so you're going to skip 2 stitches here, and we're going to front post treble in the next 2 stitches, and then working in front of these last 2 stitches, go ahead and front post treble in the 2 stitches that were just skipped. And then of course, after that, you have 4 more wattle stitches as you go across. And it looks like I just ran out of yarn. I'm going to have to fix that. And so now, that is your repeat across row number 12. So okay, row 13 is a repeat of row number 9. And we're going to have the back side facing. So we'll go ahead and chain 2. And go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches. Now we come to the back side of the large cable. We go ahead and work 3 back post double crochets. Remember, back post double crochets, and we only use the treble crochets when we're crossing those cables. I know I've said that before, but just want to repeat. And in between the last stitch and the next stitch, this is the center of where the cable was crossed. Go ahead and work a half double crochet, and then 3 more back post double crochets. This yarn gets used up rather quickly with this large hook. Okay, so we've behind that cable 3 back post double crochets, half double crochets, 3 back post double crochets, and then we work 4 more of those wattle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces. So go ahead and do those. And we come to the 4-post cable and just work 4 back post double crochets over those 4 stitches. And that is pretty much the repeat across this row. I'll go ahead and finish these. 1, 2, 3, 4. So over those back post, 4-post cable rather. So go ahead and repeat that all the way across, and again, make sure you use that half double crochet in that chain 2 turning chain. Now we're ready to start row 14. This is with the front side facing. So go ahead and chain 2. This is very much like row number 10, and go ahead and start off with those 4 wattle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces. After those 4 wattle stitches, it brings us to our large cable. And we just work 3 front post double crochets, and when we get to that half double crochet, we work in through the top loops and do that half double crochet, and then 3 more front post double crochets. And so that brings the cable to looking like this. And then we now go to those 4 wattle stitches. So go ahead and complete those. After those 4 wattle stitches, we come to our 4-post cable, skip the first 2, front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then working in front of those last 2 stitches, go ahead and front post treble in the 2 stitches that were skipped. Okay, just like that. And then of course, that brings us to 4 more of the wattle stitches. So go ahead and work this repeat. I'll go ahead and finish this stitch. Go ahead and work this repeat all the way across the row, but I will show you the end of this row. When we get to that last stitch, we are going to change to the top color, so don't crochet on past this row without changing colors. That brings us to the end of row 14 where we're about to change colors, and this is the way I like to do that. We just need to work the half double crochet in that last stitch, but before we draw that last thread through, go ahead and pick up your new color and pull that through just like so, and go ahead and give it 2 chains. That's what we're going to be needing for the beginning of the next row, row number 15. But before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 strands. First, I need to find my scissors, and I'm going to trim the white. Okay, go ahead and cut that off. And make sure you leave nice long strands. I like to have at least 5 inches, maybe even more, just so that I can hide them later with my yarn needle. So go ahead and pull that nice and tight. That'll be very easy to hide once we get to that point. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn. Now we're ready to begin row number 15, which again is going to be a repeat of row number 7, I believe it is. So go ahead, and after we've done those chain 2, go ahead and work those 4 waddle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces of the waddle stitches in the previous rows. And just like the other repeats of this row, of row 7, go ahead and work 3 back post double crochets. This is working now over the large cable with the back side facing. 2 and 3. This might be a little more difficult to see with the darker color, but I think you could probably get the idea. Still doing the same stitches. Now we work a half double crochet in the center on top of that half double crochet, and then 3 more back post double crochets. 2 and 3. Okay, so this is the back side. Now we have 4 more of the waddle stitches, so go ahead and work those. I'm going to go ahead and work those off screen, and then once you get to the back side of the 4 post cable, I'm just going to work 4 back post double crochets straight across there. That's 3 and 4. Okay, so that is your repeat all the way across, the 4 waddle stitches in between, and when you get to the last stitch of the row, make sure you work a half double crochet in that turning chain. Now we're working on row 16, and I should have said earlier, for rows 15 through 18, we're actually repeating rows 7 through 10 again. We're going to be doing that a lot in this pattern. So we're going to chain 2, and just to talk you through this row, this is the row where we're actually going to cross the cables again. Okay, once you've done a few of these cables, I think you'll understand when to turn, when to cross them just by looking at them. But for now, I'll try to be as explicit as I can with the directions. So we go ahead and we work the waddle stitches in those chain 1 spaces of the other waddle stitches. So go ahead and do those 4 waddle stitches. Now we get to the point of crossing this cable. Go ahead and skip the next 3 stitches, half double crochet in that top loops of the half double crochet that's in the center, and then go ahead and front post treble crochet in those next 3 stitches. That's 2 and 3. I'm speeding up a little bit again. If you need to slow me down and you're watching the computer, just look at this area on the right-handed videos. On this area on the left-handed, there'll be a little gear. If you just click on that, you can actually change the speed. Okay, so now working in front of the last 4 stitches, go ahead and front post treble in those 3 stitches that were skipped. And the other thing about changing the speed is if you're really bored and I'm not going fast enough, you can speed me up too. So it's a kind of a nice little thing there, and it works on any of the videos on this YouTube station, I believe. So go ahead. We've crossed the cable here. Now it's time for the 4 waddle stitches. I'm going to go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches. And when you get to the 4 post cables on this row, skip 2, work front post treble crochets over the next 2 stitches, since we always cross the 4 post cables with the front side facing. Working in front of those 2 stitches, go ahead and front post treble in those 2 stitches that were skipped. Okay, and then again, that brings us to more of these wattle stitches. We have 4 of these. So that's pretty much the repeat across row number 16. So go ahead and complete that. Row 17 is much like row number 9. We have the back side facing. I'm going to chain 2, and we're going to work those 4 wattle stitches. Then we come to the back side of that large cable. We work 3 back post double crochets, and then a half double crochet in the middle. That's in between the last stitch and the next stitch, is the center of where the cable was crossed at the last row, and then 3 more back post double crochets. Get some more yarn out here. 2 and 3. Okay, and again 4 more of those wattle stitches worked in the center of that chain 1 space. Then when you come to the 4 post cable, just work 4 back post double crochets over that 4 post cable. 3 and 4, and then of course we begin 4 more of the wattle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces, and that pretty much is your repeat across the row. And again, don't forget that half double crochet in that chain 2 turning chain at the end of the row. Now we're ready to start row number 18, which is the same as the repeat of row number 10. But let me explain something kind of quickly here on the visual side of things. These are the smaller cables. I mean, they're the large cable, but they are not real long at this point. Whenever you have the lighter color, this large cable is going to be shorter. It's going to have fewer rows in it. Now, just like I've explained to you already, but this is the darker cable, and these are the ones that tend to be more elongated. Okay, so the directions that I'm going to give you are going to go along with that. They're going to make this cable much longer than the shorter distance down here, if that makes sense. So that's basically what I'm going to show you how to do here on, starting with, well, I guess I've been working on this, but with row 18 and then the rows that follow. We're going to be repeating rows 7 and 10 in such a way that we just elongate this large cable. So I just wanted to explain that before we begin this row. Again, row 18, go ahead and chain 2 and work those 4 wattle stitches just like we've been doing all along. And when we get to the large cable, we are just going to do 3 front post double crochets, and a half double crochet right in the top of that half double crochet, and then follow that with 3 more front post double crochets. Okay, after that we have these wattle stitches, so go ahead and work those 4 wattle stitches. After those 4 wattle stitches, we're going to do the crossing of the cable of the 4 post cable, skip these 2 stitches, front post treble, and the next 2 stitches. And now working in front of these last 2 stitches that were just worked, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that were skipped. just like that. And then we follow that with those 4 wattle stitches, 1 in each of those chain 1 spaces. So that is the repeat all the way across the row. So go ahead and finish that. For rows 19 through 23, so that's 19, 20, 21, 22, and 3, we're going to repeat row 7 and then repeat row 10, and then do that 2 times. Repeat row 7, then row 10, and then row 7 again. And let me go ahead and show you row 7. Repeat. Again, this is for row number 19. Try not to get too confused with these numbers that I'm giving you. The pattern should be very helpful in this case, but I think visually, once you do these a few times and get an idea of where you're going with this, I think you'll be fine. Okay, so for the repeat of row number 7, again, it's the 4 wattle stitches at the beginning of this row. And for row 7, I'm only going to do this row 7 and 10 once for you, so I think you'll understand once I get going here. So for the back side facing, what you're going to do over the large cable is just simply 3 back post double crochets. 1, 2, 3, half double crochet worked in the top loops of that half double crochet in the center, and then 3 more back post double crochets. That's 2 and 3. And once you get to those wattle stitches, again, just do the wattle stitch in that chain 1 space over those 4 stitches. And when you get to the back side of the 4-post cable, just work 4 back post double crochets. And this is pretty much what you're going to be doing for the repeat of row number 7. Again, you're going to be repeating row 7, row 10, row 7, row 10, and then row 7. Let me do that one again. So I think it's just easier if I just show you row 7 now, and then I'll show you row 10 in just a second. And then I'm just going to have you repeat those, and I will show you from the front side what this is actually doing to these cables, and you'll understand a lot better. Okay, and then we get to the wattle stitches. Go ahead and do those wattle stitches in that chain 1 space. Okay, so that is pretty much what you're going to be doing for the repeat of row 7. Again, 3 back post double crochets, half double crochet, 3 back post double crochets. When you get to the large cable, always do the wattle stitches. There's 4, sets between all these cables. And then when you get to the 4-post cable, you're going to do 4 back post double crochets. Okay, this is row number 20, but it is a repeat of row number 10. The front side is facing, and this is where the pattern, like I was telling you before, is going to be different. Instead of crossing the cables like we normally would with the lighter color down here like we've done so far, we're just going to elongate this. We're just going to add front post double crochets, half double front post double crochets to make this longer. And then when we come back with row number 7, which I'm not going to demonstrate for you, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you this. For the row following that, we're going to come back and work the back post double crochets, half double back post double crochets to elongate this. And then we're going to work row 7 again, which is going to be rather row 10 again. I'm sorry, we're going to work row 10 again, which again is going to be the front post double crochet, making this cable even longer. So all that to say, for the record, this is a repeat of row number 10, and this is what you're going to be repeating in a couple rows. We work those wattle stitches in those first 4 wattle stitch spots. After those 4 wattle stitches, we're just going to work 3 front post double crochets, and a half double crochet in the middle, and 3 more front post double crochets. Okay, after we do that, we have 4 more wattle stitches to make, so go ahead and do those 4 wattle stitches. After those 4 wattle stitches, we come to the 4-post cable, and as I said before, front side facing, we always cross the cables, skip 2 stitches, front post, treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. And working in front of these 2 stitches, go ahead and front post treble in the 2 skipped stitches. And again, that's followed by 4 more of the wattle stitches. But that, just wanted to show you that that is the repeat of row 10. So go ahead and finish that. And then after you finish the row 10, you can back the video up if you need the support for that. But I'll just go ahead and talk you through this. For row 7 again, you're going to have 3 back post double crochets, half double crochet, 3 back post double crochets, and then work another row of row number 10, which is exactly what we're doing here, where you have the 3 front posts, half double, 3 front posts, and of course crossing the cables on the 4-post cable. And so go ahead and finish. This is row 10, and again repeat row 7 and then 10, and do another repeat of row 7, which is where you're going to have the back side facing and the back post worked. Okay, so we're going to finish this row, and then we're going to do 3 more rows. After completing row 23, this is what the front side of that large cable should look like, and this is the only part really of this pattern that is really changing for the contrasting color rows. And I just want to also be clear, this is the crossing of the cable down here, and then after that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows that follow that. Okay, now for row number 25, I'm sorry, row number 24, this is an even row, we are going to repeat row 8, and row 8 is where the crossing of the cable comes in again. So I just wanted to be clear and show you what you should have after 23 rows, and now we're going to begin row 24, which is a repeat of row number 8. So to begin row 24, we're going to chain 2, and as we've done for all the other rows practically, we are going to work those 4 wattle stitches by working that single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet worked in that chain 1 of each of the wattle stitches. After those wattle stitches, we come to the large cable. We go ahead and skip the 3 post stitches, work a half double crochet in the center of that half double crochet through the loops, and we work front post treble in the next 3 stitches. Let's try that again. Okay, let's pull some more yarn. This is getting a little challenging, as you can see, as this throw grows very quickly, and I quickly run out of space in my small little box. But I'm going to make do here and show you up close, because I think this is really important. Now, working in front of these last 4 stitches we just did, we're going to front post treble in the 3 stitches that we skipped. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this cable. You can see it's much more elongated simply by repeating those rows 7 and 10 that we've just completed. Now we work on the 4 wattle stitches, working in that chain 1 space. So go ahead and complete those 4. After those 4 wattle stitches, we get to the 4-post cable, skip the first 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2, pulling yarn, uses it up rather quickly. Now working in front of these last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. I'm trying to keep this in the picture, but I know it's just getting a little tough. And then after that, we are returning to our 4 waddle stitches, and then it's just a repeat of what you've already seen. So this is row 24, so go ahead and complete that. Now we're ready to begin row 25. We're going to chain 2, and for row 25, just for the record, it is a repeat of row number 9, and at the end of this row we are going to change colors again. So after we chain 2 at the beginning, we're going to work those 4 waddle stitches with a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. So go ahead and work those 4 waddle stitches. Okay, after those waddle stitches, we're working with the back side facing, obviously, and we're going to work 3 back post double crochets over that first large cable. And then after we do those 3 back post double crochets, we're going to be working, this is where the cable was formed last time, and we'll work a half double crochet in between the crossing of those cables, right between the last stitch and the next stitch. And then we're going to work 3 more back post double crochets over those next 3 post stitches. Okay. Now we get to those waddle stitches again, and go ahead and work those waddle stitches in the chain 1 space of those next 4 stitches. After those 4 waddle stitches, it brings us to our back post, 4 post cable, and we work 4 back post just straight across over those. 1, 2. You can see this is a lot of work for the old hands here, so do make sure that you take frequent breaks and give your hands and arms a rest when you're working on these. Okay, so we have those 4 back post double crochets, and then it brings us to our waddle stitches again, and then it's basically a repeat all the way across the row like we've been doing. Again, don't forget that half double crochet in that turning chain at the end, but this is what you're going to be doing across row number 25. At the end of row 25, we're going to work that half double crochet, but remember we need to switch yarn colors. So now we bring in the lighter color yarn as we complete that half double crochet, and we'll tie this off in just a second. But I'm going to go ahead and do my chain 2 to kind of help secure that, and then I am going to get my scissors and cut the top color right like that. Leave a nice long strings here. I'm going to go ahead and tie these together. I like to secure them. If you prefer to do something else, weaving them in and without tying them, that's up to you. I just feel a lot more secure if it's tied in a knot, and I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to hide that after I'm finished here. So now we are ready to go on to row number 26. Row number 26 is a repeat of row 10, and that begins with a chain 2, and using those waddle stitches, 1 waddle stitch in each of the chain 1 space from the previous waddle stitches. So go ahead and do those 4. That will bring us to the large cable, and we're just going to work 3 front post double crochets, and then a half double crochet in the top loop, so that half double crochet in the center of the cable, and then 3 more front post double crochets. Okay, so we're changing back, and it's going to be like mid cable there. Now remember, now we're going to start closing these cables sooner as we make them smaller after the next row or so. And now we're going to work those 4 wattle stitches. Go ahead and work those 4. That brings us to the 4-post cable, just like we've been doing. Skip those next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, and working in front of these last 2 stitches, go ahead and front post treble in the next 2 stitches. And then after that you have more of the wattle stitches, so go ahead and work those. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet in that chain 1 space. Do that 4 times, and that is pretty much the pattern that you're going to follow all the way across. So go ahead and finish row number 26. This is what you should have after completing 26 rows. There's the bottom, and I'll straighten these out. I'm mostly focusing on the large cable. Okay. And that's what we have. Okay, because most of the other these rows with the 4-post cable are the same every other row, so you should have that down. The only thing that's really changing significantly is this large cable. Now I want to give you some instructions, because I've pretty much taught you what you're going to be doing throughout this Afghan. I am going to come, tidy this up at the end and finish off the ribbing with you. But let me give you some directions. I'm going to write them at the bottom of the screen as well. So for rows 27 through 34, okay, so that's the next 8 rows. You're going to repeat rows 7 through 10 twice. At the end of row 34, which was the second repeat, you're going to change back to the taupe or to the contrasting color, color B, okay? And then you're going to work rows 35 through 34, which is simply going to be a repeat. I know this sounds confusing, but I'm going to put a little time marker right down at the bottom so that you know where to go back in the video. For the remainder, you're going to repeat rows 15 through 34 2 more times. Okay, so I'll put a little, I'll put the time stamp right down there so that you know where to go back in the video should you need more video support. So go ahead and complete through rows through rows 74. One more thing that I think will help you as you go about this: when you work the top section with the large cable, you're going to have a total of 11 rows in these sections. Now when you work the vintage white section, you're only going to have 9 rows in that. So if that helps you in counting the rows as you crochet this, so be it. I hope that is helpful to you. So I'll go ahead and complete through row 74. I want to give you a closer up view of this last cable sequence. And as you recall, this is the crossing of the cable row here, and then you have 2 rows beyond that. Now we're going to begin with the back side facing. So just to let you know where we're headed with this row, at the end of this row we should have all double crochets across. Okay, to do this we're going to start by working in the wattle stitches. We're just going to work 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and then we're going to work a double crochet in the single crochet. Now we've not been working in these throughout this pattern, but we are going to work in these for this across for this row number 75. Okay, so we're going to do that with each of the wattle stitches. 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and then 1 in that single crochet space. Okay, we're going to do this a total of 4 times. 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and then 1 double crochet in that single crochet. So I've done that 3 times, and I've got 1 more to do here. As you can tell, we're working downstairs. This no longer fits in my little light box. Okay, then we have 1 in that single crochet. Now when we come to the back side of the large cables, we're going to work back post double crochets all the way across. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. We're going to work 3 back post double crochets, and then for that half double crochet in the middle, we're actually going to work a double crochet right through those top loops, and then 3 more back post double crochets. I hope you can see this. I think by now, if you've gotten this far in the project, you're doing well. All right, so now we come to the wattle stitches again, and we're going to do just what I did with the others. We're going to work 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and then we work a double crochet in through the top loops of that single crochet, which is a part of that wattle stitch. So go ahead and do those next 3 wattle stitches the same way. Okay, after working those double crochets in those 4 wattle stitches, we come to the 4 post cable, and we just work 4 back post double crochets across each of those stitches. And that, for the most part, is the repeat that you're going to need to do all the way across the row. So if you can go ahead and work that, and I will show you the very end of this row. After working these double crochets all the way across, I come to the last wattle stitch. I've worked 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and then I work 1 in the 2 loops of that single crochet. We're actually not going to work in the turning chain after that. After this, including the turning chain at the beginning of the row, you should have 102 stitches across. Okay, now we're going to turn with the right side facing, and the instructions say to repeat row 2 for row 76 through 79. So that's 4 more rows, and for this we are simply going to chain 2 and do just like we did at the beginning. We're not going to crochet in the end stitch when we do front post back post, but we'll start with a front post double crochet, and then we follow that with a back post double crochet, and we're going to do that all the way across the row. When you get to the end, we're going to work a half double crochet in the turning chain of this row. Okay, so go ahead and do those 4 rows. This is row 76, 77, 78, and 79, working front post and back post double crochets. And remember, when you get to the end, let me show you. When you get to the very end, this chain 2 space, go ahead and work a half double crochet in this space. So go ahead and finish those last 4 rows. After working those 4 rows, repeating row number 2, we're going to work just a half double crochet in that last stitch, and it's time for us to fasten off. So we're just going to go ahead and give it a chain, give it a tug, and you can actually break this yarn pretty easily with your hands, but I'm still going to cut the strand for you, leaving a generous strand here. Anywhere between 4 to 6 inches is good. Probably the longer the better in this case, so that these strands don't come undone. And I'm going to give you just a quick tutorial on how to hide these loose strands, and you've got several of them to work on. Go ahead and use your, whoops, let's try that again, your needle here, okay, and try to hide these on the back side if you can. So I like to just run these under the stitches, and not trying to be Captain Obvious here, but you're going to want to hide the light colored strands under the light colored stitches, and the dark colored strands obviously under the dark colored yarn, so that it will hide, be hidden in the best possible manner. So one thing that's really nice about this yarn is it's nice and soft and fluffy, and it is so easy to hide these loose strands. So you just bring them up. Go ahead and pull this all the way through, and then I give it a little tug, you know, backwards here, so that, you know, when I cut the strand, I know about where it's going to be showing. So I'm going to cut this as close as I can, but make sure that you do not cut your crochet. That would be a super mega bummer. You don't want to do that after all this work. Well, we're all done. Thank you for sticking with me all the way to the end here. I have a lot more strands to hide, but that shouldn't take me too long, and I'll start work on that as soon as I'm done here with this video. If you haven't already, please hit that little bell if you like the video. If you haven't subscribed already, would you please hit that subscribe button? That way you won't miss any of the new offerings I have coming to my channel. Okay, well, God bless you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.